Hello once again. Welcome back to the Petroglyphsinthesky UFO show. I'm your host, Jeff Woolwine. Glad that you guys are back with us today. And of course, we have a great show for you today. What we're going to do is we're going to show some petroglyphs out here on the mountains of Phoenix, Arizona. A very popular mountain, now known as South Mountain. Formerly known to the Indians back in the day as Mount Sepoa, Mountain of Mercy, because here in Phoenix, Arizona, there was sacrifice going on this mountain, worshiping the Phoenix Lights. Yes, that's right, folks. The Phoenix Lights goes way further back than March 13th, 1997. Matter of fact, I've dug up a whole bunch of information, proven information that these Phoenix Lights, as everyone is now known, is part of Phoenix, Arizona's history. Not only is it our history, but it's a cover-up history that has been, like I said, covered up for the last 80 years away from the public eye. But investigating the Phoenix Lights, doing a thorough investigation on the Phoenix Lights, not just taking the word of everybody of hearsay, but actually digging up hardcore evidence on what the Phoenix Lights really is and what the petroglyphs has to say about it. These 1,000-year-old rock art from the Native Americans, known as the Hohokam Indians. They were the first people, the first tribes to live here in the Valley of the Sun. Yeah, they saw the Phoenix Lights. They saw the lights. They saw a whole bunch of other stuff too, man. And they recorded their sightings on the rocks out here on the mountains in Phoenix, Arizona. Got a great show for you tonight. Thank you guys for tuning in. We're going to talk about these petroglyphs out here on South Mountain. Going to explain on the interpretations on them. I have this one video that a friend of mine sent me. Kind of looks like a cotton candy, right? A cotton candy entity, UFO. Not crafts, mind you, not spaceships, right? But creatures, living entities. I think I was like probably the first one to ever, verify this in Phoenix back in 2005. And so, yeah, thanks for joining with us. Make sure that you find my YouTube channel, The Phoenix Lights, Petroglyphs in the Sky. Now, make sure that you see the Phoenix Lights in front of it, not just Petroglyphs in the Sky. That is not me. Just regular Petroglyphs in the Sky, that is not me. So make sure you subscribe to the channel, The Phoenix Lights, Petroglyphs in the Sky. And it'd be great to see you guys there. And thank you so much for supporting the channel. Yeah, we'll get it. It's live. It's crazy. Here we are. Let's do it up. All right. So a couple things I'd like to talk about here. Let's bring these guys in right here. For Real Watchers Radio Show. What's going on, guys? Glad to be affiliated with you two. You guys rock. Thank you guys so much for airing my videos on your YouTube channel. Make sure that you guys go out there and check out For Real Watchers Radio Show worldwide. Jerry and Brett do a great show. They do a great hosting show, and if you've seen a UFO or have anything that you want to talk about that's really important, or you just want to call in and say hi, do it. These guys are great guys. They'd love to hear from you. For Real Watchers radio show. Thanks, guys. Worldwide, you guys rock. All right. We will see you guys next time. Okay, let's see what this is. Okay, so Vulture City Paracon Part 2. Oh my. Let's get it going on out there in Wickenburg, Arizona. Yes. Yes, folks. The Vulture City Paracon Part 2 is back in motion. Had to take a year break because of COVID. But we are back this year, 2021, in October. Come out. Say hi to Jay and Marie Yates. Great people. They're hosting a ghost hunt out there. Matter of fact, they're always doing ghost tours out there at Vulture City Mines. Stop by, say hi, get your tickets fast because they're going to go quick because we're only a limited seating, right? So I'm going to be doing a live UFO Skywatch out there. First time ever out there at the Paracon, Vulture City. Gonna do a UFO hunt. Gonna do a ghost hunt, right, with Jay Marie. And then we're gonna go out and we're gonna hunt some UFOs. We're gonna talk about UFOs. We're gonna talk about the Native Americans and what they say about UFOs. I'll be doing a book signing out there. Make sure you bring all your books out there. I'll be glad to sign them for you. Doing a Skywatch. Let's talk about UFOs. Let's talk about ghosts. And just come by and say hi, man. You know, I'd love to meet you guys out there at the Vulture City Paracon Part 2 out there in Wickenburg, Arizona. Make sure you get your tickets quick because they're going to go fast. Contact Jay Marie Yates. Contact Vulture City and get your tickets today while supplies last. Right on. Looking forward to that. Thank you, Vulture City, for having me back. Now, let's talk about this bad boy. What the hell is this? What is coming across our screen right now? Oh, my. Is it the Phoenix Lights, Petroglyphs in the Sky, Landscape for the Spirits book? Oh, I think it is. I think it is, folks. It's the Phoenix Lights, Petroglyphs in the Sky, Landscape for the Spirits. True stories, myths, legends, and UFOs over Phoenix. Is that a tongue twister or what? Yes, people. This is my book. This is 15 years of UFO research out here in the Valley of the Sun. Crossing my T's, dotting my I's, going out there on South Mountain, understanding the petroglyphs, calling a shaman down to talk about the petroglyphs on South Mountain, going into the library, finding these documents that has been covered up for the last 80 years that talks about the Phoenix Lights, that talks about the first park ranger, Charles Holbrook, talks about the tombs that Charles was there, protecting back in the 1930s, right? Up until his death in the late 1940s, when all of his information, including the info on the Phoenix Lights, including info on how the mines were here, including the info on how there's gold, yes, folks, gold tombs on South Mountain in Phoenix, Arizona. The first park ranger, Charles Holbrook, was there to protect these tombs. Yeah, it's real. It's real. I've been there. I've found them. I found at least 3 tombs out there on South Mountain. You can go on my website, my YouTube channel down below. You can find a link there. When you go on my channel, my YouTube channel, there's going to be a link down there, not only where you can get a copy of my book. You can mostly find it on eBay. You can also get ebooks. It's available on ebooks also. But when you check out my website, I show you a tomb that I'm talking about. Now, this book isn't just an everyday UFO book, right? It's a history story. It goes into Arizona's past, at least Phoenix, Arizona's past anyway. It talks about the Mayans. It talks about the Hohokam Indians. It explains on how to understand these petroglyphs. It goes into the light and shadow markers during the equinox and solstice, right? And what it's all about. Archaeologists wants us to believe, well, the equinox and solstice shadow markers is just representing that it's time to plant corn. That's what the archaeologists would like us to believe. That is bullcrap. These light and shadow markers out here that the Holocons have done successfully over 1,000 years ago. I'm going to show you some photographs too. I'm going to show you some of these petroglyphs and how they did that, and how they put these boulders on top of these other boulders with petroglyphs on it, and how the shadows come down during the equinox and the solstice, right? And, you know, the archaeologist wants us to believe that it's changing of the seasons and that it's time to plant corn. Has nothing to do with that. It has everything to do with these sky spirits in the sky. Now, Charles Holberg, the first park ranger, talks about the spirits of the earth and sky, right? He knew about them. He learned all this information from the first Native Americans who lived with him, with him. We'll get it right. I don't know. They were there. He was there. They told him about the tombs. They showed him where some of the tombs were. They told him about the great Indian War between the Indians and the Spanish, right? This is in my book. I have documented. I have proof that the Spanish conquistadors were on South Mountain. It's in my book. Check it out. This way. I found evidence. I dug up Phoenix, Arizona's true past. Talks about how there was a great Indian raid there, right? I'm going to go into that story a little bit. I wasn't going to, but I'm going to talk about it a little bit. So the Spanish were here, right, on South Mountain. And they had a lot of coins, okay? The archaeologist doesn't want to talk about this. They don't even believe, they do not want you to know that the Spanish conquistadors ever came near this Valley of the Sun. But they did. Not only did the first park ranger, Charles Holberg, know about this and proved this, but also this story that I'm about to tell you that's in the book, and you can see the artifacts that were dug up. And what happened on South Mountain, there was a whole bunch of Spanish soldiers, right, on South Mountain. I don't know, give or take about 300 to 500 of them. There was many soldiers on South Mountain, and they were taking a break. They just come miles and miles, and they were resting their horses. So they tied the horses up against the trees, right? And they went down and they camped there, right there by a stream. There was a stream there on South Mountain. And the Indians didn't like it too much. They did not like these Spanish soldiers coming in and, you know, basically tramping on their sacred mountain. The South Mountain is sacred. Yeah, it's a holy mountain, dude. Even today, it's a holy mountain. Why? Because these creatures, these spirits, these entities, not spaceships, not technology, something higher than that, man. We're talking living entities, creatures, man. They visit this mountain all the time. It's in my book on the reasons why. It's in some of my past shows. Check it out. We won't get into it today, but we're talking about the Spanish soldiers. Now, the Indians didn't like this, right? And so one day, when the Spanish rested their horses and getting ready to camp, the Indians ambushed them from high hills. For 3 days and 3 nights, there was a major battle up there on South Mountain between the Native Americans and the Spanish soldiers. And they killed the soldiers. They wiped them out. They wiped out the soldiers. First, they killed their horses, right? So they couldn't escape. They first killed their horses, and then they went after the Spanish. And they killed them. They massacred them. And they left them. They left everything there. After it was all over with, that was a forbidden spot on South Mountain. Because that was the area of the dead. There were so many dead soldiers right there that nobody came down and picked up anything. They left the coins, they left the guns, they left the bodies there to rot. And no one stepped foot on this land on South Mountain ever again. Well, that's what, about 400 years ago? And you know what? Verification of that battle, you can see it in my book. You can see, it talks about this story, and you can see the evidence that was found on that spot. That's about as far as I'm going to get into that. But yeah, all these stories on South Mountain on how the Mayans were there, on how they performed sacrifice to the Phoenix Lights and to these creatures in the sky, how the giants were here in the Valley of the Sun. Yes, I said giants. Yes, I have found evidence of giants, and I've found petroglyphs of giants. I think one of these petroglyphs that I'm going to be showing you today shows some giants there, some carvings of giants. How the tombs were there of the gold, right? Information on Charles Holbrook can be found on my website. You can see it on my website. The documents, because I photocopied all that. Once I opened up that folder, and Charles Holbrook was just kind of like hit me in the face, dude, saying, yep, that whole year of research, Jeff, you've been right. This is what's going on. And I verified it. I documented it. I photocopied all that information in that folder because you can't take it out. Because this was found on the 4th floor of the Phoenix Downtown Library, Burton Bar Library, in the Arizona room. So I went up there not expecting to find anything about Charles Holbrook. I was actually there to find out information, on South Mountain, find out the history of South Mountain, find out, a little bit more about the CCC that was there, the Civil Conservation Corps, who destroyed petroglyphs, who blew up petroglyphs, who concealed some of these mines out here, who dug mines, who went out there and dug up mines, I meant to say. They pulled like $60,000 worth of gold and silver out of South Mountain. That's just from mining. But they left the tombs alone. They weren't really interested in these tombs. This is forbidden stuff here. These tombs on South Mountain has been there, at least 1,000 years, maybe longer. But they wasn't there for that. They didn't know about that, actually. But they did destroy a lot of petroglyphs close by some of these trails because of the story, because it was demonic creatures. It was depicting these type of creatures, these flying serpents, and these demonic creatures, if you will, sacrificing altars, things like that. And they wanted to make it a family park. And they felt that carvings of demonic creatures flying in the sky and people worshiping these flying creatures and sacrificing upon these flying creatures, these phoenix lights, these orbs, these diamonds, these feathered serpents, that they didn't feel that it was family oriented. So they went in there and they blew up a lot of petroglyphs, man. I documented all that. I found it. It's there. It's proof. That's our history, folks. That's where the credibility lies. That's where our history lies. Is in these petroglyphs carved around Phoenix, Arizona. That is the true history of Phoenix. You just can't look at these petroglyphs and say, oh, that's a nice little drawing. No, man, they're telling us a story. That's the only way they could do it. Because they didn't have cameras. They didn't have video cameras. They had stone boulders. They had mountains to tell their stories on. Because it was something significant. It was important. They wanted us to know about the giants were here. They wanted us to know about these Phoenix lights in the sky and what it was all about. It's our history. It's Phoenix, Arizona's history. Not some whole people were just a simple peace-loving people that planted corn and lived for 1,000 years and didn't start war and everything was fine, and all of a sudden they decided to go somewhere else? Why would you leave a place over 1,000 years and just disappear? The archaeologists saying, oh, they just migrated somewhere else because it got too hot. My God, dude, where the hell did they go? Where did they go? If they migrated somewhere else, we could find them. But that's not where it goes, man. They was taken away by these Phoenix Lights. They were taken away by these creatures that we see in the skies today. That's it, folks. That is the true history here. They were taken away. They were caught up in the sky. We're gonna show this petroglyph here on South Mountain. Yeah, I think there's two photographs that I took off of South Mountain of the petroglyphs showing how they picked people up out of the sky, out of the ground, took them up. That's it. Bye-bye, folks. See ya. Bye. Have a good day. Don't come back. Holberg writes this in his journals, man. He says, because he learned them from the Indians told him, look, man, the devil came from the east. The devil came from the east and took the people away. The oral tradition says this. The carvings on the rocks out here on the mountains show this. Charles Holberg knew this. And then after he died in the late 40s, all his information was tucked away, buried away, never talked about again for 80 years. Until I started doing serious research, some serious investigations to find out what was going on in our skies. Not just Phoenix, but your skies too, dude. This just doesn't include Phoenix here. I'm not just talking about Phoenix. I'm talking about the whole world. What I discovered was it's the same stories, but just told a different way. Same kind of carving, same kind of art. It all boils down to the same damn explanation. That these things were here. They've always been here. It's not spaceships. It's not technology from another world. But these things are living creatures, living entities. They live here too. All right, that's a secret. They're not from another planet. This is their planet also. They've always been here. The Native Americans have been telling you this all these years, man. They're talking about spirits. Talking about these lights. Talking about these orbs. Talking about these flying diamonds. All this crazy stuff we see in the skies, man. Is my show called Crafts in the Sky? No, it's called Petroglyphs in the Sky for a reason. Because these petroglyphs are carvings of UFO sightings that we are now seeing in our generation, that we are seeing in the skies today. Here's another secret. I don't believe these things die either. I think these things that we see now, today, you and me, are the exact same things that the Native Americans saw, that the ancient ones saw, that the people in Egypt saw, that everybody else around the world saw. It's the same creatures. They don't die. Phoenix Lights, Petroglyphs in the Sky, Landscape for the Spirits, True Stories, Myths, Legends, and UFOs over Phoenix. Pick up your copy today. Make sure you bring it to the Paracon out there at Vulture City so I can sign it for you. I'd love to autograph it for you. I'd love to talk to you about more about these UFOs. And I'd love to hear your stories on what you've seen. And if you've ever seen a UFO or if you got it on video, send it to me. Send me your petroglyphs pictures. Send me your videos of UFOs. And, you know, if it's good stuff, I'll show it on my show. And I'll give you credit for it. And, yeah, man, that's great. So, yeah, the Phoenix Lights, Petroglyphs in the Sky, Landscape for the Spirits. Get your copy today. Find it on eBay. And you can also get it on the ebooks. Okay. All right. So, let's talk about some of these petroglyphs out here on South Mountain. So, this one is interesting. This one is located on Hieroglyphic Canyon on South Mountain, formerly known Mount Sepoa, Mountain of Mercy. Now let's take a look at this. So it's kind of like it's not very good photography here because it's really interesting too, because when you go out there on South Mountain, you know, I've been hiking that mountain for like 15 years, you know, studying the petroglyphs, taking photographs of the petroglyphs, you know, hiking the trails, learning the landscape. You know, I've been doing this for many, many, many years. And there's times, okay, when the sun hits these petroglyphs just right, it bleaches them out. You can't see them. You'd walk right by a petroglyph and never know it was there because the sun is bleaching it out, right? But the next day, you go at a different time, like in the morning, and you walk by and you see a petroglyph there, and you're like, dude, that petroglyph wasn't there yesterday. So that's basically what's going on this photograph here and the next photograph of the same thing. Because it was getting to that point of day where it was getting ready to bleach out these glyphs. And Hieroglyphic Canyon, Hieroglyphic Trail is a very complicated trail. It's a very, it's not a beginner trail. It's hands and knees crawling on rocks up on this trail. And it's not even a trail, man. It's a hike. It is a steep and rugged hike on Hieroglyphic Trail. A lot of people, you know, won't even go on there because it's so dangerous. And but there's a lot of cool petroglyphs that are up there, and so that's why I went up there many, many times. As a matter of fact, I took Pat Uskert, the founder of UFO Hunter show on the History Channel. When we were doing the pilot for the UFO Hunter show in 2005, I took him up on that trail, and I'm carrying all his bags. If you look at the pilot of that show, you look at the video of the pilot, you can see me carrying like 3 or 4 bags, right? Because he couldn't carry it. The trail was so steep. You know, he lugged me. He gave me all his bags for me to carry because he couldn't do it. You know, but that's where in that video, in the pilot, this is Hieroglyphic Trail. So this petroglyph is totally interesting. Now look at this. Let's get this one out of here for a minute. Let's just concentrate on this one. Now look at this here. Okay. Now that right there is very interesting. That kind of looks like, you know, either like a monkey, right? And the Mayans feel that the monkeys are like sacred, right? And there is a buried tomb. There is a tomb up there on Hieroglyphic Canyon, high up on the top there, top of the ridge. And it's interesting too because the CCC was up there blowing shit up, blowing some of these petroglyphs up. But they left a lot of them there. But this one boulder they totally demolished. Doesn't make any sense, right? Why the hell would they climb way the hell up there? And they would blow up this boulder, you know. And I just think that it had something to do with the tomb that was up there. Probably had a lot of information there that they didn't want you to know. But they left a lot of other petroglyphs there. Didn't think that anybody was going to go up there that far, discover them, and actually decipher them, you know. Because they're mostly concentrating on the lower half of the mountain, blowing up petroglyphs and stuff, you know. But high up there, and that trail is so rugged and steep, you know. I mean, granted, they didn't need any tools. All they needed was sticks of dynamite, you know. So that's not very hard to carry. And so yeah, they blew up some petroglyphs up there on Hieroglyphic Canyon. Probably because of the tomb that's there. That's what I'm thinking. But you know, back to this thing here. So this is either a monkey, right? Because the monkey is, you know, and it's my whole point was there could be like a monkey buried there, right? Wouldn't surprise me. Wouldn't surprise me that tomb has a monkey buried in there, maybe along with, you know, a shaman king or some gold, right? Or this could be what maybe the Hohokam people look like. Could be a profile of what they look like. Could be a profile of a Neanderthal. Why? Why is that carved way the hell up there, right? And it's so like out of place from all the other petroglyphs. That's what was really kind of throwing me off. I'm like, dude. And it was kind of, in this little rocky, like tight area you walk through. It's on this wall. And then on top of it, now let's go back to this photograph here, this picture. So these ziggity-zag lines, if you will, zigzag lines, it's very faint carving. You can barely see it. You can see it over here on the picture on the right. You can barely see the zigzags. And then so I kind of drew it out over here. Those zigzags are actually the mountains. That is a mountain. That is the side of the cliff on what we're climbing on. That is pretty much the canyon that we're going up. That in between those two pyramids there, where this barbell UFO spirit is coming out of the V-shaped canyon. Because these canyons on the side of the mountains, when you have spirals there, is the doorways for these UFO spirits. The Native Americans say that they're going into these spiral doorways. The spirals really are just a symbol, So it's not actually, they're not actually going into that spiral there, but it's actually a symbol for something that's around that area. And so, for instance, this whole canyon, they're trying to tell us, because there's many spirals up there, they're trying to tell us that this whole canyon is the emergence point, is the doorway to the underworld. Now, on a scientific outlook, on a scientific way of thinking about these things, about why they're coming and going from the underworld on this special mountain. Why is this mountain so damn special? Why are these Phoenix lights and these entities attracted to this mountain? Why? For thousands and thousands of years, and probably at the beginning of time. Because this mountain was created by a fault line, right? And these fault lines generate energy. And it attracts these creatures. It attracts these beings to these energy sources. Right? So when the Native Americans say that they're going down into the underworld, they're actually going down into that fault line. They're going down into that energy source. And they're absorbing the energy. So to the left, the two zigzag patterns is the mountains. And it's forming a canyon. Okay? Where this barbell spirit is coming out of. All right, so the barbell spirit is coming out of the canyon because the two pyramids, those are the two mountains, are the two mountain formations. That is the walls, if you will, to the canyons. So this spirit is coming out of the canyon, is coming out of the mountain canyon. That's exactly what this petroglyph is depicting. So it would be really kind of cool to find out, if that's a monkey, to dig up that tomb up there and find out if that's a monkey. Or if it's, or a Neanderthal, or maybe it's, maybe it's what the Hohokams probably maybe look like. I don't know. And he was buried with the king, right? Because they do that, Because the king, the shaman, the leader, they had their sacred pets. They had their favorite pets, And so a lot of these burials, a lot of these burials that we find, that we dig up, not only do we find the sarcophagus, we find the mummy, But we find a lot of sacrificing animals too. A lot of dead horses, a lot of, monkeys, animals, and probably animals, pets that the king or the leader had when he was alive, and then when he died, he brought his favorite animals with him in death. So it's very possible that not only will we find the leader, the king, the shaman, in that tomb that's up there on Hieroglyphic Canyon, and also maybe his favorite pet, the monkey. Okay. Here are some spirals here. Now these are spirals from different parts of the world. One from Malta, one from Utah and England and Ireland, right? So, like I said before, this just isn't here in Phoenix, Arizona. It's all over the world. All right. Now these spirals represent doorways to the underworld. And we just talked about this underworld, that it's actually energy spots. It's energy sources. It's energy spots. Now, when these spirals go clockwise, when you see a spiral going clockwise, it's a doorway in. It's a symbol for a doorway to the energy spot going in. When we see a spiral going counterclockwise, it's a doorway out. Over here in Mylita, excuse me if I can't say that right, pronounce that right. But look at the spirals there. We have one going clockwise and one going counterclockwise. See that? Look at that. Look at that there. Concentrate on that top left square there. Look at that. Those four spirals is two spirals in and two spirals out. That is a major, major doorway. That is a major source. And look at the circle in the middle. See that circle? What does that circle look like to you? Is it an orb that we see in the skies today? Is it a light? Is it a phoenix light? They're telling us that orb is the doorway. Those are the doorways where this guy's coming and going from. To the underworld. To the energy sources. Excuse me. Over here in Ireland, look at that. Look at the spirals on that, right? Many different doorways. Counterclockwise, clockwise, doorways. Coming and going. And then over here in England, look at it. It's the same thing. Now, how? Let's look at this. Look at Utah. I mean, come on now. How are the same people? Because they didn't have internet back then, right? They didn't have newspapers. They didn't have telephones. But yet they're carving the same things, right? They're erecting, the same type of structures, pyramids. And they don't even know each other. But yet they're carving the same thing. How is this possible? Right? Like I said before, it's the same stories, just told a different way. When I said that the holocaust, they got taken away by these spirits, by these lights. That's what the Native Americans believed, that the Native Americans at that time told Charles Holberg, who wrote this in his journals. And the petroglyphs, we're going to talk about it. We're going to show you some petroglyphs here of what I'm talking about. The petroglyphs show these lights coming down and picking people up and taking them off into the sky. And that explains on what happened to them. And it's around the same time period on when other tribes around the world came up missing. So all these tribes, right, where everything was hunky-dory for 1,000 years, and then one day they vanished, they disappeared all at the same time. They were here one day and gone the next. And what? They're not going to take their belongings with them when they go? The archaeologists really must think we're stupid. Okay, yeah, they took off. But they left everything behind, man. They left everything and left? That doesn't make any sense. You know, when I move, I take my stuff with me. I don't care. I take my stuff with me. I'm not going to leave it at my last apartment. I'm not going to leave it at my last house. I'm going to take it with me. So if I'm going to migrate somewhere else because it got too hot or it flooded out or something, I'm taking what I can. I'm getting out. I'm taking it. But these Native Americans, man, they left everything there and simply gone, vanished without a trace. There were survivors to this. They saw what was going on. That is how we know the story that was told from generation to generation to generation. That's how we understand the spirals. That's how we know what all these interpretations mean, what these symbols mean on these rocks, is from the first Native Americans. It was told from generation to their kids, to their kids, to their kids, to their kids, and so on and so on and so on. And they tell you, look, man, our forefathers, if you will, were taken away by these spirits. You know, to be honest with you, we're not supposed to know about these lights. We're not supposed to know anything about what's going on in our skies right now. This is kind of taboo, right? Because a lot of these, I talked to a lot of shamans, a lot of Native Americans, and a lot of them don't want to talk to me about this because it's taboo. It's a cursed, information. Like I said, we're not supposed to know about these things. This is, it's scary stuff, right? Because they know what happened to their ancestors, The true ones that understand what's going on here. Now, there's a lot of others out there that are saying that their grandfather kept an alien baby in their closet. Okay. Whew. So I've talked to a lot of people, man, But the thing that really, makes sense, can be verified is the petroglyphs. These people disappeared. The petroglyphs say that the petroglyphs are showing these people being taken away. And then some of these, Native Americans who will talk to me, off the record, off camera, privately sit me down and teach me these secret symbols, these secret ways. And they say, look, it's not a good thing. A lot of people think, oh, these UFOs are here to help us. They're going to take us away. They're going to help us, right? No, man, this is some scary stuff here. This is why, in my opinion, there will never be a disclosure. The government's never going to come out and tell you what's really here. Now, there's so many people. We all know something is in our skies. We've been seeing it for the last 60 years now, and it's getting worse every year. We all know this. So first it was denial. First it's weather balloons. First it's flares. First it's all this cover-up bullshit. Right now, all right, so everybody knows that we're seeing them. Fighter pilots are seeing them now. The government's seeing them. They're recording them. We have so many cameras going on now that it's hard to miss these beings in the sky. So we all know something's here. And now the next cover-up that I'm seeing here is because there's so many people, with these, books and movie tickets and Hollywood, of technology and spaceships, and being abducted and all this stuff, the government is going to say, look, these are crafts because the public can understand technology. If the government comes out and says, look, these creatures are entities and they're like the supernatural race of beings, and they shapeshift, and they glow light, and they suck up energy, and they perform miracles, and they can fly in the sky. Oh my, that's heavy. That is some crazy shit. We are not prepared to understand this. We are not prepared to cope with that. That's why I'm here to help you try to understand this. Because I've dealt with it. I've seen them. I understand them. I know what they are. I know what's going on here. That's why I'm trying to help you understand, what the natives say, what these things are really doing here, where the evidence is, what the credible evidence is. And the evidence is saying that, look, when these things were here, when mankind interacted with these beings, they got taken away. It led to their downfall. Hopi say we're in the fourth world, about ready to enter the fifth. And each time these beings are here to help and mislead man. Every time, every history, every time the world changes, every time we go into a new world, these creatures are here to mislead man. They want man to worship these things. They are telling man that, look, they are gods. They're saying that they're gods, and we are supposed to worship them. That's why they're not coming down and making contact with us. We see them, but right now they're just watchers. They're watching. They're waiting. They know the time is coming close. They know it's almost time for the fifth world to open up. They know it's almost time when mankind needs them again. But now it's not time. They don't know when, but they know it's close. All the prophecies, all the puzzle pieces are coming together, man. Right before our eyes. It's coming fast. When you look at prophecy and you look what's going on in the world today, oh my, it is going fast. It is kicking ass, dude. It's coming quick. And these creatures in the sky know it. These lights, these orbs, they know it. That's why more and more is coming. That's why the government's got to come out and say, look, yeah, there's something here, but it's technology, it's spaceships, it's green men from Mars. Okay? Yeah, they're not going to come out and say, look, these lights and these flying serpents, they took people away last time. We're seeing them now, so, our future isn't looking good because, they took people away. That's going to panic the public. That's not what they want to do. If they came out and told you, look, there are supernatural creatures coming and going from South Mountain in Phoenix, Arizona. There are flying serpents in the skies of Phoenix, Arizona. There are crooked snakes. There are diamonds. There are orbs. There are lights. They're coming to that mountain on a regular basis. And it led to last time man's downfall. That's what happened to the holocoms. They got taken away by these lights in the sky. If the government came out and told you that, how many people are going to be living in that valley? Because after they got taken away, like I said before, there were witnesses. That's how we know the truth. It's because of the witnesses, and the witnesses told their kids and their kids and their kids and their kids and their kids, and they say that their people got taken away, and they cursed the land. They cursed Phoenix, Arizona. They no longer want to live here. They knew that whoever's going to live here in this Valley of the Sun was eventually going to have to go back to war with these spirits of the earth and sky. So they cursed this land and they took off. Nobody lived here for 400 years. Right? So the next cover-up, because we're dealing with the cover-ups. We're dealing with weather balloons. We're dealing with flares. We're dealing with, whatever they want to come up with. Now, the next cover-up is spaceships, is crafts. Because that's what they understand. That's what people understand is technology. And they have strayed away from the truth. And the truth has always been here. They don't look at these, ancient scrolls anymore. They disregard these scrolls that has been written 3,000 to 7,000 years ago that explain what these beings in the sky that we see in the skies today are. They're dismissing that. They're saying, oh, no, that's religion. I don't want to hear it. It's not religion. Get religion out of there. Religion is a man-made bullshit thing. Don't look at it that way. Look at it as a history of the world. These documents, these sacred scrolls, were written for us to understand not only the history of the world, on where Earth came from and where man came from, but also teaches us what these beings in the sky are. And there's people out there for the last 100 years or so taking this information out of these scrolls, out of our hands, right? To make it what they want us to believe, to make it religion, all right? And we don't want to do that. We don't want to deal with religion bullshit. We want to look at the history. And history tells us the scrolls. We read it on the scrolls. We come out on the rocks and we see the photographs. One thing before I get rid of this photograph, excuse me. Look at Utah. Look at Utah's petroglyph. Now you see that spiral? Look at that. Look at that creature coming out of that door. See that? Look at that flying serpent coming out of that spiral doorway, right? It's coming out from the underworld. It's coming back from the energy, right? Okay, so this is up here on South Mountain. This is me. This is during an equinox and a solstice. And this is up here, oh my, I think 26th Street, I think it is, on South Mountain, high up on the mountain. And there's a canyon right behind these boulders, a big, massive canyon. And that's where this flying serpent that I filmed came out of this canyon. So, and this area here is a whole big land on the side of South Mountain. And it's not steep, it's pretty level right there. It's like a real pretty spot right there. It's really cool. And here is a equinox and solstice shadow marker boulder. Now you can see, look on top. See the boulder up on top? Let's concentrate on the boulder on top. Let's look at that. Look at those boulders. They have been stacked there. They have been placed right there. Even that little thin one to the bottom left. All of these things were placed there for a reason. Okay? And so when the sun hits it, you can see it now. You can see how it's starting. You see how the sunlight, this is the equinox here. This is about close to 12 o'clock, give or take. The sun is almost in the 12 o'clock position. You can see how the light is cutting right through that petroglyph. Now, the archaeologist calls these petroglyphs, these kind of creatures here, anthropomorphs, because they're shapeshifters. They're shape-shifting. And we know that this is an anthropomorph because look at his feet. Let's examine this creature's feet here. You see how one is going left and the other ones are going right? And then look at the body. You see the lines there? Okay? That's how we know that this is not a normal animal. That this is an anthropomorph. This is a creature. This is a I don't know how to put it. This is like, I guess you could say to us, a being, a supernatural being, a living creature. All right? It's not normal. Let's just say it that way. All right? It's not normal, okay? And it's getting ready to cut through this anthropomorph. It's hitting this mouth. It's coming out from the mouth and coming down. Now, so let's see. This one here, we have two anthropomorphs. We have one where the sun is hitting it's coming out from the mouth of this first anthropomorph. And then we have another one over here. Now this is tracking both equinox and solstice. These two anthropomorphs is equinox and solstice markers. So when the sun is in a different position, like the sun was over here, right now the sun is over here to the right. So on the solstice, the sun will be over here on the left, and it will cut through this anthropomorph on the left, right? But right now we're talking about the equinox, and it's cutting through the right of the anthropomorph. Now we have a spiral there, okay, a doorway. It's going clockwise, and it's ending down, okay? It's ending down. So when a spiral is ending down, it means the doorway is the crack on where the spiral is pointing at. So this spiral is pointing down, and it's talking about this crack here, this lower area here on the bottom. You see the crack? You see how these boulders has been broken up? And you see the crack there? So that is the emergence point to the underworld, to the energy spot. So eventually, the sun will move across the sky, and when it does, the light, the sunlight, will keep going bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger until it crosses through the spiral. Isn't that fascinating? We have two different sun markers there, one equinox and one solstice, one spiral doorway. Now this is telling us, the archaeologists, it's time to plant corn, yay! No, it's talking about these creatures in the sky. So right now, these creatures are gone. During the equinox, during the solstice, about a few days before, they're gone, right? So let's just talk about this for a minute here. Have you noticed that sometimes we get a lot of activity, in this certain area? There's like so much UFOs, we're getting them almost every day sometimes. And then all of a sudden it just stops and they're gone. You ever wonder why? It's because of the sun. So the Holocoms, they were sky watchers, right? And they watched the sun. This is why we have these equinox and solstice panels up here on South Mountain, is because they're tracking the sun. Now, it has nothing to do with planting corn. They're tracking the sun because they know when the sun gets in the right position of these fault lines during certain seasons of the year, it opens up these doorways, right? Spirals, doorways. It opens up the doorways to the underworld. It attracts these beings to these energy spots. When the sun is aligned with these fault lines, it acts like a fusion effect, if you will. It opens up these doors. It attracts these beings to this area. Now, after the equinox, the sun moves in the sky, right? The sun is in a different position, right? It's on another side of the world. It's on another side of the planet. It's over these other fault lines now. And it's opening up these energy spots. So we're over here in Arizona, and we see a whole bunch, of UFOs for these first, few months of the year, right? And then after that equinox, they're gone. Where are they? They're in Florida now. They're in Iraq. They're in Russia, right? They're in Paris, right? They're in Florida. They're in Maine, right? And then when the solstice comes back or the equinox comes back, the sun moves. And now the sun is over this fault line. Okay? So they're tracking the sun to know, to understand when these creatures are going to be here in this area. They're teaching not only us, but they're also teaching their ancestors or their generations, whatever, when to look for these things, on how to look for them, and what to see. It has everything to do with the sun. It has everything to do with the energy around the earth, whether it's ley lines, whether it's fault lines, energy sources. These creatures are here to absorb the energy. The holocaust tracked it with the sun. And they did so by carving these doorways, by telling us, look, this area here, it's going down. So that whole area right there, that crack right there, is the doorway. All right? And they put these boulders up on top. And look at that one over here on the right above my head. Okay, now look at this. Let's zoom in over here on the right. You see how it was carved? See how that was cut? Look at that. Look how precisely they cut that. How the hell did they do that, right? This boulder is not natural. This boulder has never, wasn't there before. They picked this boulder up. They placed that boulder there on top of this other boulder. And they carved it. They shaved it. Look at that. Look at this boulder over here. You know that thing's got to weigh a few, tons, a few 100 pounds at least. Look, and these smaller ones here on top of that. See that? All these stones on top of this boulder has been placed there. Isn't that great? That is how you can understand some of these petroglyphs. Okay, let's get on to this next one. Here's one on South Mountain. This is really cool. Now look at that. See, a lot of this on this boulder here, a lot of it was shaved off, which is a pity. A lot of that story has been carved out. Look at that. Look how someone's coming in there with a chisel, and they chiseled all that out. Probably the CCC. Look at that. And they just left a few little orbs in the sky. A few little orbs. See that right there? All those circles. Does that look familiar, people? Have we seen that in the skies today? Yes, we have. I have seen that many times. I have seen the fleet of orbs in the sky. And now we see the carvings of the fleet of orbs that was seen by the Native Americans too, by the Hohokam Indians. This isn't anything new. This information I'm not just saying this. This is true. This is facts. This is history. This is what the Phoenix Lights is. They're telling us, man. These are photographs. These are carvings of photographs of their UFO sightings. And have we seen anything about ships? No. I think, a lot of people, they see a light in the sky and they think that it's a craft, And they're not looking at it as maybe another way. They're not looking at it like maybe that light is the creature, is the being, right? I mean, because look at the fireflies. Look at the lightning bugs, right? They light up. Well, because they were created that way. And that's exactly how these beings were created. These beings are light. They're light beings. They're intelligent. They know who's watching them. They know who's not. That's how they're getting away with being in our skies so much, and a lot of people aren't seeing them. So, what if it's not a spaceship? What if it's actually like an animal, okay? Like one of them anthropomorphs, right? That we just saw carved on the rocks. What if it's like an animal, a supernatural animal? What if it's a creature? Remember the story on how the Native Americans, the Holocaust were taken away? Look at this petroglyph here. This is a very prime example. See that? Look at that orb. There's an orb, and it's got this line, and it's absorbing this guy. See that? It's taking this man up. Look at that. That's exactly what I'm talking about here. This UFO, this creature, this orb, this phoenix light is picking this man up. And that is what the oral tradition says about Phoenix, Arizona. That the Hohokam Indians were taken away by the lights. Were taken away by these creatures, by these orbs. That's why there will never be true disclosure. That's why now the cover-up is going to be crafts, technology. They're not going to tell you this. They're not going to tell you what the Indians saw out there on the, and what the history shows on the rocks. The prehistoric photographic evidence. The Hohokams, they saw the lights. They saw the feathered serpents. Mayans were here. Sacrifice was going on. Gold tombs, worshiping was going on for 1,000 years. That's the true history of Phoenix, Arizona. Not the archaeologists trying to tell us that the Hohokam was a peace-loving race who never went to war with anybody, who were masters of the canal systems for their time and day. And they simply migrated somewhere else because it got too hot. No, that's not what the stories say up on the rocks. Now, that's not what these photographs are depicting. That's not what history is telling us here. History is telling us that there were giants here in this valley, that there was worshiping going on here in this valley, that these creatures came down and took these people away. The photographs here. Look at the photographs. Right there, dude. That's why. That's why they're never going to tell you this. They are never going to show you. They want you to think, oh, it's just a myth, just an interpretation. Come on now. How did the same thing happen to these people that happened to other tribes around the world at the exact same time? Because it just didn't happen here at Phoenix. Other tribes from around the world were taken away by these creatures in the sky. All at the same time. It all happened all at once. But yet some of these archaeologists, they don't want to look at that. They shy away from that. Because it doesn't fit in their evolution theory. Because if we were created, that would just make sense on everything, right? If we're created and the world was made, but if they want to make it, if they're trying to make us believe that we were, evolution, that we came from apes, then all this other stuff just doesn't, it's just myth. It's just stories. That's what they want you to believe. They want you to believe that they want you to believe in evolution and not creation. Because if creation that's where the evidence lies. That's where everything makes sense. Evolution, let's move on. Here we go. This is up here, up on Hieroglyphic Trail again on South Mountain. Now look at that. See that? There's an evidence of a giant right there. And this is high up on a wall. That's not easy to get to. I had to climb up there a few times to get that shot. This is actually a video screenshot. But yeah, look at that. Evidence of giants. And we have rock boulders. We have rock boulders that were stacked on top of each other and making like this huge wall, right? And the CCC came in there and blew up half that wall. They blew up the wall on the facing Phoenix, because that wall is right there facing Phoenix, okay? Right there on the mountain. When you look up, you can see that wall. I mean, it's huge. And there was tons of petroglyphs on it. And they went in there and they blew up that side. They didn't come around and blow up the whole wall. They just blew up that one side. And they blew up the petroglyphs. So it just, you know, I mean, there's rubble there. And they didn't even bother to clean it up. There's chunks of debris on the ground still there. And evidence of their forklifts, you know. And they totally destroyed that wall. But on the other side, when you climb up on that hill, and you look on the other side, you can clearly see that that was a big, massive wall with, you know, heavy stones, man, like hundreds of pounds, maybe tons of stones that were cut. They were cut in place and put in place. They were cut to make bricks, and they were stacked on top of each other to make a wall. And then it was covered up. It was covered up. You can see the dirt has been, you know, they must have like spent at least a couple months burying that whole half of that wall there. The Holcombs did for some reason. There's got to be a tomb in there somewhere. They're covering up a tomb. They're burying something. And that wall was sticking out. So the CCC blew up that one side that we can know that, you know, there's a wall because we can see it from the ground from you know, Phoenix, Arizona. We can see that it was a wall, and we can see that it was half buried. All right, so they blew that up, but when you go up on the other side, you look behind it, you can clearly tell that it's a huge wall. It's been buried, and it had to have been made by somebody very, very big, very strong. Giants, man. That's the only explanation. Okay, yeah, we're back. Okay, here's another petroglyph. So we're gonna have to hurry up on this because we're running out of time. All right, so look at that. See, we have a person looking up at a flying diamond. Filmed the diamond coming out of South Mountain, March 26th, my birthday. A diamond came out of South Mountain and flew right over my head. Right over the apartments that I was living at. I filmed it. It was crazy. Now we have these petroglyphs here. And you can see look at the spirals there. We can see the spirals. And then we can see men like coming out of the stone. You see that? These are beings, and they're coming out of the stone. Look at that one on the bottom there. See, one is coming out. One has came out of the door over here on the left, and then another one is emerging out of the stone. Isn't that crazy? Isn't that incredible? They call him the lizard man because they have a tail. And you know, when the shaman was teaching me about these petroglyphs, and he's teaching me about the lizard man, He's saying the lizard man came up out of the sand world and they lost their tails, looked like everyone else, you know. And that dot, see how big that belly is right there? See how big his stomach is? Right? And he's saying that that dot, that circle is him coming out of the doorway. He's halfway in our world and halfway in the underworld. Well, that would explain this one on the right, because he's pushing himself out of the stone. You see that? Because we don't see his legs. So he's coming up out of the stone. But the one on the top, the left one, he's already out, right? And I believe that circle in his belly, that is the orb, that is the light that we are seeing in the skies today. And he's anthropomorphing. He's changing. He's morphing into a man. This orb is changing shape. So these lights and these orbs, that's the beginning. There's more to them, all right? I've seen them. I have seen a light in the sky, and out from that light came this serpent. This black snake came out of the sky over South Mountain. I filmed it. Look it on my website. You can see it. Quetzalcoatl, the flying serpent. He came out of this light. And he morphed. He eventually morphed and he shapeshifted. He anthropomorphed into a stick figure looking petroglyph man. And he just cruised across the sky over the mountain ridge. And I believe that those orbs, those lights that we see in the skies today is just the beginning. Eventually, we're going to see them changing shape. Well, they already are. But a lot of people don't know this yet. They haven't paid attention. They haven't seen this yet happen. But I have. These orbs and these lights, they change. They're going to grow a head. They're going to grow an arm. They're going to grow some legs. They're going to grow this tail. And that tail is not a tail at all. But that is the thing that they... Look, that last petroglyph there. See that line coming down and taking that guy up by his head? Taking him up in the sky? That's what those tails are. Those tails are actually these lines. I've seen, there's so many petroglyphs out there on South Mountain that are depicting these creatures in the sky with these lines, and they're picking, like cows. They're not cows, but they're picking coyotes up. They're picking people up. They're using that line to carry things off. And also, they also use that line to connect with each other. And then that's when the barbell formation comes into play. And I think when they do that, I don't know, it's just my theory, no proof on this, but I think when they connect each other with that line, I think they're using each other's energy. I don't know. It's a good theory. I can't think of anything else, but why they would connect together that way and make that barbell, why that line would come out of them. And then another orb would join that line, So, I don't know. Okay, so this is on Holbrook Trail. South Mountain, Holbrook Trail. This is high up on a pyramid hill. Now, on this pyramid hill, which still happens to have a tomb within it, on Holbrook Trail, there's a shaved out area here on the side of this pyramid hill. You can see me sitting next to it. If you look real closely, there's carvings of petroglyphs. Now, all these rocks, these boulders here, were shaved. See how smooth they are? Now let's take a closer look. Whoops, did it again. Let's take a closer look here on the petroglyph. Let's try to fix this. Here on the petroglyph, okay? This is what this petroglyph is depicting. We have like this barbell. We have like a flying serpent to the left. We have this barbell here in the middle to the right. We have a guy right there. And he's looking up at one. And then we have this other creature, this anthropomorph. You see that? That light and solstice marker that we just looked at, that petroglyph panel. we have one guy and it's picking up a guy. You can barely see that petroglyph there. Let's see if I can make it bigger. If you look closely, you can see that there's a man. You can see his legs. You can see his arm. See that? Let's make this picture a little bit bigger. Yeah, see that? That's really coming in now. You can really start to see the guy now. See how big I can make this. Look at that. This anthropomorph is picking this guy up. You see that? And there's other people around. Now we know, now over here to the right, we see a stick figure guy. We know that that is a regular man. Why? Because he doesn't have a circle in his belly, and he doesn't have a tail. And his arms are up. Their arms are in like the appeasement pose. His arms are up as to worship, if you will. And there's another looking type thing under him. It's kind of weird. Maybe this guy's, I mean, he's kind of jumping in the sky. I don't know. His legs are bent at the knees. You see that? But back here in the middle, we can see that anthropomorph, this animal-looking thing with the neck and the legs, is picking this man up. You see that? It's picking this guy up. And there's, petroglyphs there to the left. We have the barbell, and we have the serpent there, the tadpole serpent. And it's right here in this area. So, and it's smooth. Where I'm sitting at right there, where I'm sitting, I mean, you can stand up. You can stand up, and this panel is depicting that this area is where, on the side of a pyramid hill, mind you, this is a pyramid hill. This is a pyramid mountain that this is carved on. It's halfway up on the mountain. And so these men would come up there as a sacrifice, would stand there and let these entities come down and pick him up. That's exactly what this panel is depicting. That's on the side of a pyramid hill. Now this is really, really cool. Look at this. This is like some kind of like tree. This is like a fossil. This is on South Mountain. I accidentally discovered this, taking a break. That's where you find most of this stuff, is when you stop and you just look around at the landscape and you see stuff. And this right here is a tree. Isn't that cool? Look at that. That is a tree. It's like a fossil tree. Isn't that amazing? I thought that was really, really cool. I'm probably the only one that's discovered that on South Mountain. Isn't that fascinating? I just had to take a picture of it. Love that. I think I might be able to find it again. I haven't seen it in like 10 years, maybe more. It's been a while since I first discovered it. Now, here we go again. This is what I'm talking about. Now, look at this. This is on Hieroglyphic Trail. Okay, so we have the guys on the bottom looking up, and look at that thing in the sky. You see that? That is an anthropomorph. I know it's not a very good picture of it, but you can kind of see how the legs are going in different directions, and it's clearly flying in the sky. This anthropomorph shape-shifting entity UFO creature is flying in the sky, and these beings on the bottom are clearly looking up at it. There's an orb there on the very bottom right. We have some lizard people there. All right, we have other guys there. We have a diamond spiral there to the left. You can see the diamond spiral. Look at that. This is a photograph of what happened on South Mountain. And it's telling us that these people saw this anthropomorph flying in the sky. This UFO to us. Remember the spirals? This is on South Mountain, so this one is going what? Clockwise, right? And it's ending down, meaning there's a doorway on the bottom, right? It's either that crack in this boulder here or it's the ground. If the spiral is ending up, then it's a vortex in the sky. It's a doorway in the sky. That's when these phoenix lights just magically come in and just appear in the sky, right? And then they disappear. There's a vortex door in the sky. And they can't carve a spiral in the sky right there. So they put the spirals in the area on which, right under this doorway, right? And just so happens to be, it's on the mountain. Why the mountain? Because of the fault line energy, right? The energy in that area, that whole area has energy. The sky, the ground, there's all energy right there. That's what they're there for. They're there to absorb the energy. They're coming through that vortex door. Some say through another dimension, right? They're coming through the door. They're absorbing the energy. They're going back into the door. That's why the spiral is going up. This one's going down, so the doorway's on the bottom. Spiral up, that means the vortex is in the sky. Okay, so let's get on to some of these UFOs before we run out of time. Boy, I'm already past time. Okay, so all right. Let's look at this one here. Okay, yeah, this is that cotton candy. Excuse me. Been talking for so long, throat's all dried up. Look at this cotton candy thing, man. Is that crazy? This was filmed in the Netherlands of this year, I think it was. Either this year or last year. Isn't that crazy? Isn't that like a cotton candy UFO? And is this a spaceship? No. This is a living creature. This is what we are seeing in the skies, folks. This is not technology that we're looking at here. This is not a spaceship. This is not a craft. This is a living being. Let's see if I can stop it real quick at a good spot. Boop. Look at that. Isn't that crazy? Let's take a good look at this. That is not a craft. Now look at the line. You see the line? From today's lesson, we all know what that line does. We all know what it does. We know that that line connects to other creatures, possibly to absorb each other's or feed off each other's energy. That's just my theory. There's no proof on that. But the evidence and the proof shows what the line is capable of doing is picking objects up off the ground, such as animals and people. That is exactly what that line is. Is that incredible? That is a crazy looking entity. And I filmed one, kind of looks like that. It's called the popcorn UFO. Go ahead and check it out on my YouTube channel. It's called Popcorn UFO. And it kind of, looks like that, except it doesn't have a line. This is filmed from the Netherlands. I believe it was either this year or last year. I kind of want to say 2020, but I'm not real sure on that. It could be 21. It might have been this year. Someone sent that to me. They want to be anonymous, and they sent that to me. Isn't that great? That is some good stuff right there. This is what we're looking at here, folks. This is what we're dealing with here. We're not dealing with technology. The evidence from the petroglyphs are saying that these things are to them, to the archaeologists, anthropomorphs. To us, they're living entities, they're living creatures. Woo, just got dizzy on that. Okay? These things are alive. They are living beings. Let's take a look at this UFO real quick before we close the show. Thought this was really cool. We have this orb in the sky, right? Look at this. I'm not sure when this was filmed. Look at this. Look at this orb here. Is that great? Isn't that awesome? Look at that creature. This is not technology. This is not a ship. There's not a living guy in there. That is the living being. That is the creature. This is what we're dealing with here today, folks. Look at that. That is good video right there. Is that something or what? Let's stop it. Boop. Look at that. Let's examine that for a minute. Let's take a hard look at this. Isn't that neat? That is something. That is incredible. See if I can get it bigger here. Isn't that neat? This is not a spaceship, people. This is not technology. This thing is alive. This thing is a living creature. And look how it's just sitting there. Look at that. It's just sitting there in the sky. Is that something or what? Look at this. Look at that. That is incredible. That is something. That thing is just sitting there, dude. Look at that. It's just sitting there. Yeah. This is great video. Love this video. This is spectacular. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. And look. Look what it caught the attention of something. Here comes the helicopter. See, somebody else knows that these things are here. All right, whether it's the government, whether it's somebody hired, I mean, they know when these beings are here. Now, it's not necessarily that they can track them on radar. I don't believe that. I don't believe that they can track them on radar. Some people think they can. I don't. I don't see any evidence of that. But I do know that the government knows that, they're in certain spots, in certain energy spots, on certain times of the seasons, where you can see it out. So that's exactly what's going on here. Look at the helicopter. Oops. Look at the helicopter. See that? That is good video. And there's so many times where I have seen these black helicopters and these white Cessna airplanes circle South Mountain, and then later, like a few minutes later, a UFO would either land in that area, come down into that doorway area, or it would leave the mountain. And I believe that right before the door, if you will, opens up, I think with special technology, like maybe infrared or something, you can see energy starts to build up. Energy starts to gather on that area. Look at that. Look at that helicopter. Isn't that crazy? Isn't that crazy? Look at that. So when these creatures are attracted to these energy spots, energy starts to build up right there in that spot. And when the energy is open, when it opens up these doors, that's when these UFO creatures come down or come up to get that energy. So I think with special technology with the government that the government has, like infrared or something, they can see that and they know that energy is building up right there, and that something is about to happen. Because there's been so many times I'll be watching South Mountain, and like I said before, a black helicopter would come down and would circle that area, and then the helicopter would leave, and then a UFO creature would leave that area, would come right out of that spot where that helicopter was circling at. Now, how did that helicopter know that there was going to be a creature there? There was going to be a UFO there. How did that, before it happened, right? When I see these white Cessnas, because it's black helicopters and it's white Cessnas, right? And they're monitoring the skies above South Mountain, all right? That's what they do. And some of these white Cessnas has this little black ball on the bottom of it. And I think that's some kind of sensor. I think that's some kind of infrared technology. And so when that energy starts to build up in that area over there on the mountain, they know it. And when that energy builds up, that's when it attracts these creatures to that area. So yeah, I don't think it's necessarily that they can see these things on radar. I mean, because these things are going through solid rock. All right, they're absorbing themselves down into mountains and stuff, right? And so if it was technology, sure, maybe they'd pick them up on radar, but not when you're dealing with something like this, dude. Not when you're dealing with something that can absorb himself into a rock, or just appear in the sky. Okay, so that's just something a little bit different here. So yeah, love that video. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We're gonna have to end today's show, and make sure that you send me a message on Facebook. Follow me on Facebook. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. It helps a lot. Start looking more and more for more videos. For the past month and a half, almost 2 months now, I've been posting regularly lots of UFOs that I filmed over the past 15, 20 years now. I have a lot of stuff. So the Phoenix Lights, Petroglyphs in the Sky is the YouTube channel. Help me out. Send me a message. Send me your UFO videos. And thank you guys so much for watching. And like I said, if you guys film something, send it to me. I'd love to show it on the show. We'll talk about it. Maybe we can do an interview. If you guys find any petroglyphs you want me to take a look at, send them my way. Don't forget about the Vulture City Paracon coming up in October. Get your tickets fast because it's going to go fast. The tickets aren't going to last very long. Let's talk about UFOs. Let's talk about ghosts. It's going to be a great, great time in October. So thank you guys so much for watching, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye. See ya.